welcome to the Thermodette kitchen. So I actually thought that we would make today's recipe together. So today for Father's Day with Thermodette, we are actually going to make some Rosemary Parmesan shortbread. So making shortbread in your Thermomix is really easy, and I thought that this was a really nice savory variation for the dad in your life. So obviously we can package this up in beautiful little cellophane bags and tie them with ribbons, or we can pop them into jars, and this will make an amazing component of the Thermodette Father's Day hamper if that's what you're working towards. So we're going to start cooking. Now this is a recipe from Cookie Do USA, and as such, when you start cooking, the units on your Thermomix will automatically switch over from grams to ounces. Thermomixes are so clever. And when you're done with the recipe, it'll just switch back to grams. So we need 2 ounces of Parmesan cheese. So I'm going to pop that into the Thermomix. We also need 1 sprig of fresh rosemary. So leaves only. So basically what you're going to do is just hold the rosemary by the stalk and just pull the leaves off. And this was quite a small stalk of rosemary, so I'm just going to pop 1 and a tiny little bit of rosemary in there, and then we are going to mill that or grate the cheese for 10 seconds all the way up to speed 10. So stainless steel bowl. Parmesan cheese is really hard, so you are going to hear the power of the blades, but you're also going to hear when that power changes or when the cheese is grated. Show you what that looks like. Pretty amazing. Look at the power of the blades. To this we are going to add 8 ounces of unsalted, but now it says unsalted, just use whatever you have, and in my case it is salted butter. Remember to tear if you take the lid off. There you go. 8 ounces, just over 8 ounces. We also need 2 ounces of sugar. Now, for those of you who don't know, an ounce is approximately 28 grams. So you're looking at just under 60 grams of sugar. Lid goes back on, and we're going to mix that for 30 seconds on speed 4. Scraping down the sides of the bowl with a spatula. So the spatula that comes with a Thermomix is great, but we do also have these really cool Tovolo spatulas in the mix shop. So we're going to scrape that down. I'll show you, starting to mix that up. So we scrape down the sides, and we're going to mix again for another 30 seconds on speed 4. So remember to stop the dinging. You can touch anywhere on the screen and that will stop it. You don't have to press the button. Right, so butter is creamed. We're going to add 10 ounces of all-purpose flour. So this is just plain flour. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, because we're using salted butter instead of unsalted butter, I'm not going to add 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just going to add 1/8 teaspoon, so a little bit less salt. And this time we are going to mix for 10 seconds on speed 6. We're looking pretty good, but we do need to scrape down the sides and just make sure all that flour gets mixed in. and 30 seconds of kneading. So remember, when your Thermomix is kneading, don't leave it unattended. Stay next to it, make sure it doesn't end up walking off the bench. It's only 30 seconds. 2 minutes of Thermomix kneading is equivalent to 10 minutes of hand kneading. So this 30 seconds is about 2.5 minutes of hand kneading. And I'm grateful I don't have to knead by hand. There you go. And that is our shortbread dough ready. So really easy to pull together. And what I'm going to show you now is a special trick for how I shape my shortbread. So the recipe says to shape the shortbread into a roll using a piece of Glad wrap or plastic wrap. I'm actually going to use my sushezi. So obviously this is what you use to make sushi, but I do also use it to make shortbread. Really handy, and make sure that you have perfectly round shortbread all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrape the dough into the sushezi. So it is going to be more than one roll. And so we'll just grab some of this, press it into one side, and then grab some and press it into the other side as well. It actually smells delicious. I really love rosemary, and I really love Parmesan cheese, so it's a good combo. Right. Both sides. And then we are going to close the sushezi, and we're going to pop the lid onto the other side, just give it a twist, and then we're just going to compact the shortbread. So you shouldn't have to do too much because we did fill it quite full. Right, so we're going to take the cap off, and then we're going to push the shortbread out of the sushezi and onto the mat. There you go. And that gives you a really round shortbread round. So what might help a little bit is just to give the sushezi a spray with some cooking spray before we pop the shortbread in there. We're going to pop this over there, and then we are going to get the rest of our shortbread, and we're going to put it on both sides of the sushezi. So yeah, you should get 2 logs out of this recipe. And if you want to, make sure that you get every last little bit of the dough off of the blades. You can pop back into the cradle, bring up the home screen, and we can just go all the way around to 10 to there you go, and that'll just get all the dough out so that we don't waste any. Right, so that's everything. So, gotta use your hands. I know it's a little bit messy, but that's okay. Right, so close the sushezi and just snap into place. And then we're gonna pop the cap on one side, twist it into place, and then just twist the shortbread to compact it. And you can usually kind of start to feel when it's hit the right point, and then you can see that it's all the way up to the top. And then we're just carefully going to push that shortbread out. There you go. And there you have it. Perfectly shaped round shortbread. So we're going to pop these 2 rounds into the fridge, leave them there for 30 minutes just to firm up, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we cut them. There you go. And it's been about half an hour and we're ready to keep going with our shortbread. So it will have firmed up. And we can now take it out of the fridge and we can start cutting our shortbread into rounds. Now the bread knife with guide is a really, really handy tool to have for cutting shortbread, because it means that you will get very, very even, precise and equal slices. So we are going to need a rose gold baking tray lined with a silicone mat or baking paper if you don't have one of these. The recipe says that we're going to slice them 1/4 of an inch thick, so that's about 1/2 centimeter. So you're just going to set your knife up to be about 1/2 centimeter, and then this is the super easy bit, is that we are just going to cut that shortbread, and as you can see, we're just going to get perfect, it's always the first one, perfect round shortbread. So 1/4 of an inch, and it just guides you so that you don't need to be perfect with your slicing. Now what you may find is that if you set it up too thin, which is what I've done, it might stick a little bit. So I'm just going to widen it up a little bit. Very easy to reshape them. Okay. So let's widen that up just a tiny bit. There you go. And let's try again. So just slicing. That's much better. There you go. So sometimes when I'm making these videos, there's a tendency to want to cut out the bits that are not perfect, but I actually think it's really important to keep those bits in, because I'll make the mistakes, so you guys don't need to. So yeah, make it a little bit wider. I'd say that's maybe 1 centimeter, and it just gives you a little bit more room to maneuver. There you go. Look at that. Perfect. So those are perfectly round, and they are going straight onto our baking tray. There you go. Oh, aren't you glad I'm testing these for you before you make them yourselves? And that, my friends, is the beauty of using the sushezi, is that they are perfectly round, and then because of the knife, they are perfectly uniform. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to cut both of these logs into rounds. In the meantime, I am preheating the oven. So it says 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I asked the lovely Siri what that was in degrees Celsius, and she told me that it is 180 degrees Celsius. And so that's what we've got the oven heated up to. We're going to have 2 trays of shortbread. We'll pop one on the top rack and one on the bottom rack, and they go for between 18 and 22 minutes. I'm going to do 20 minutes. And halfway, you do want to rotate the trays, so swap them from top to bottom, just to make sure that they bake evenly. And then you're just going to take them out, pop them onto a wire rack, and we're going to have some delicious Rosemary Parmesan shortbread for the dad in your life. This shortbread is really great for popping onto platters, so cheese boards, having with some cheese, having with some quince paste or some apple ginger paste. You can just eat them by themselves. There you go. So yeah, a really great gift. What I'll do is I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. there is the before, and in about 20 minutes I'll show you the after. 20 minutes later, that's what our shortbread looks like. Smelling amazing, and yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the series. So remember to share and tag me if you make any of the recipes. Love to see what you guys are cooking, and yeah, I will see you again in the Thermodette kitchen very, very soon.